everyone. Welcome live to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Nicholas Rees. And Nicholas, we got some short track action for you with super late models around this very, very tricky 0.4 mile South Boston Speedway, colloquially known as Sobo. I love coming to Sobo here, Nicholas, because this racetrack has a lot of action. I mean, this racetrack's so small, and when you think of short track racing, this track has it.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen a lot of action in the past at Sobo with the super late models, as we're going to see out there tonight, and it can get pretty crazy. Just take a look at other broadcasts at South Boston, and for a few extra bonus points, take a look at it with these cars. It will get crazy, and we're going to see how crazy it will get tonight, Peter.
Yeah, of course, these super late models are very, very tricky cars to drive, a lot of horsepower, but also quite a bit of downforce. And around this racetrack, surprisingly, these cars are pretty quick around here. Derek Presley right now coming out of turn number 4 to the stripe with Harmon's on the hood of that number 4 machine. You see him get through turn number 1 and 2, and you can see the current times on the left-hand side of the screen. Currently, it is Bart Hector Jr. who's leading the way here in qualifying. He picked up 3/100ths of a second over his practice time. Ken Garber, though, in the number 96 machine, he was fastest in the practice session. It's like he is second here in qualifying. So Garber losing just a little bit of a time here in this session. And sitting in third is TJ Hartmann. And I'll tell you what, Nicholas, TJ Hartmann trying to go for 4 in a row here tonight. Got the win a couple weeks back at Phoenix, 2 weeks ago at Charlotte, and last week at Oxford Plains. And I'll tell you what, TJ Hartmann, he's going to be a tough one to beat here tonight.
Yeah, TJ Hartmann, of course, we're seeing him currently 4th fastest, I believe. Yep, 4th fastest here in qualifying. And I believe he actually was a bit slower in practice, but 4th fastest here in qualifying for now. And we're going to see what he can do to what he's hoping for to make it 4 in a row in the series.
There we see the number 55 machine, Hayden Plyba in that machine. He going across the start-finish line. Looks like he scraped the wall, and iRacing will actually disqualify your lap if that happens. So it doesn't look like he will get a time in here. And oh, there's Dylan Huffines in the number 7 machine. I was just about to say, he's another driver who's yet to take time. Looks like he might have tried to open up entry or down the front stretch, or open up exit, excuse me, with that run through the center of the corner up near the wall, trying to get as much speed as he can to the stripe. Look at him all the way down below that yellow line through turn number 3 and 4. We're going to see that a lot here tonight. And Dylan Huffines turns in a great lap there. Going to go 3rd on the board, 14.433, right behind Bart Hector and Kenneth Garber, excuse me. He picked it up on his second lap, and he actually went top of the charts to pit Mr. Bart Hector. It looks like to the pole right now, as the checkered flag has been thrown on this qualifying session just a little bit prematurely. I don't believe there will be a heat race here tonight because of the number of cars. I do believe, well, it sounds like we are getting a heat, possibly between 2 cars here. The number 22 of Isaiah Gill and the 99 of Chris Torres. We'll see if they decide to advance it, as we only have, I believe, 17 cars in tonight's field. These 2 drivers will advance from this heat into the A main automatically. It's just a battle for position. I do believe the race officials are trying to sort out whether or not we'll have a heat, but let's go over to the chat. We got Aunt Kathy in the chat. Hope you are doing well, Aunt Kathy. We got no Greg Rentz here tonight, but like you can see in qualifying, Bart Hector Jr. definitely on the pace, up near the top of the charts, both in practice and qualifying. So he's definitely on the button here tonight. If you're in the chat with Aunt Kathy, make sure you make yourself heard, because definitely it's going to be a great time here tonight on 3Wide TV. Of course, we do have the NASCAR race going on right now down in Homestead, so that might affect the car count just a little bit. So hopefully you can have one TV on the NASCAR race and one TV here on 3Wide TV. And I'll tell you what, South Sound Speedway, great to jump on board. Looks like we are going to roll off and have this a little bit of a heat race. I believe the number 99, Chris Torres, is going to get a little bit of practice time. He didn't put any practice or qualifying laps in, so I'm sure he will use these lapses trying to feel out the race car here before we go green. But Nicholas was going to say, great to have South Sound Speedway sponsoring this series. You know, the South Sound Speedway eRacing series, kind of trying to make up for the fact that COVID has kind of taken a lot of these guys out of real race cars and trying to get them on a virtual racetrack, and doing so to give them an opportunity to have some fun out there. And it's great to have them around these racetracks all across the country. Of course, a lot of these drivers located in the northwest portion of the United States, up near South Sound Speedway. And it's also great to have 93rd Avenue Computer on board as well. If you're anywhere close to Olympia, Washington, make sure you go to them for all of your computer repair needs. But the pace car will come down here, and we're going to get a 2-car heat here for the 16th and 17th positions on the grid. And I'll tell you what, Nicholas, that number 2 machine right there, Isaiah Gill, he's already gotten out to a little bit of a gap over the 99 Chris Torres.
Oh yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, already a little bit of a gap there over Chris Torres, who's just getting pulled away from by your current leader Isaiah Gill out of these two. But it is a 8-lap heat race, so we're going to see these guys going around for 8 short laps here around South Boston. As we have mentioned, this is short track racing. A very short track. These guys have put in some times, and it looks like about 15 seconds around this track.
Yeah, these laps are going to click off very, very quick. It's going to be interesting to see when we get to the feature race. It's a 110-lap feature race here tonight, which is not a very long race with how short this racetrack is, but it's also such a short racetrack that if you come down pit road to change tires, you can end up losing the lap very, very easily at this joint. There you can see the brake rotors blowing on Isaiah Gill's machine. He's pulled away from Chris Torres quite significantly here, as we are already halfway in this 8-lap heat race. Very, very short between these two. I'm sure they're just trying to log some laps, maybe get a little bit extra experience behind the wheel of these cars. Heard a couple of drivers here, Nicholas, talk about recently that these race cars are kind of tricky to drive here tonight. We've had I believe Chris Belanca says these cars, I just don't get it. So that's going to be interesting to see how that translates over to the race. But I believe we're coming to the white flag here already in this heat race, and Isaiah Gill's pretty much got this wrapped up, Nicholas.
Yeah, as you said right there, Isaiah Gill, I'm pretty sure is going to be taking home the checkered flag in this heat race. But as you mentioned, I was actually listening in during practice, these drivers' radio voice chat. And these guys were saying that they get loose, and I was even seeing this a little bit. Some of these guys are getting loose out of turns 3 and 4, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that, Peter. But yeah, they were mentioning that these cars are a little tricky to drive, and especially at South Boston Speedway. But these guys are going to warm up for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to get into the 110-lap feature race here tonight at South Boston Speedway, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can bring up the current track conditions. It's currently an ambient temperature of 77 degrees Fahrenheit with a track temperature of 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't expect that to change all too much throughout this race. The track conditions they're slowly rubbering in. The track state was at 16% usage, which to all the people who don't know, iRacing kind of varies the track state, how much rubber's laid down based off of a percentage, all the way from 0 to 100, a 0% being, oh my goodness, we got a 3-car tandem up there against the wall, and that's not where you want to have a 3-car tandem. But there is a slider essentially between 0 and 100%. 0% being a completely green racetrack, and 100% being a well worked in racetrack. And as the race goes on, you actually see rubber accrue on the racetrack. The track will continue to darken up, and it will change the characteristics of how these cars drive. Now, it will be interesting to see if that affects how they're driving, especially out of turn number 4, like you're mentioning, Nicholas, because that is where they have been struggling here in practice. The practice earlier, and we've already kind of seen it here in this warm-up session. It's going to be interesting to see, because sometimes you can get that rubber that gets laid down, and it helps the car get a little bit more grip. Conversely, though, if that rubber starts to heat up, if you have drivers that are consistently spinning their tires coming out of the corner, that friction between the rubber and the road causes the temperature in the racetrack to heat up, and it can actually make it slicker than it normally is. So it can kind of go both ways. And Nicholas, we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out here tonight. And Kathy in the chat saying, always watching 3Y TV, iRacing Live, and NASCAR on the DVR. I like your reasoning there. Put NASCAR on the DVR. You can watch that later. Of course, you can watch us later here on the Video on Demand feature of YouTube, but you get to be in the chat here, and we very much appreciate it, and Kathy. But, Nicholas, about 2.5 minutes, and looks like Kenneth Garber in the number 96 machine already top of the leaderboard, back where he was both in practice earlier and in qualifying.
Yeah, he's been looking pretty fast, and I do want to point out that Kenneth Garber, he had a 14.381 practice fast time, along with a 14.381 qualifying fast time, so the same exact time, and that's actually really cool to see. Both fast time, same time in practice and qualifying for the number 96 of Kenneth Garber.
Yeah, and look at Bart Hector picking it up. Bart Hector Jr. to a 14.361. It seems like this racetrack might actually be a little bit faster in this session than where it was both in the practice earlier and in the qualifying session, because in qualifying, Kenneth Garber ran a 14.381, and now we've seen Bart Hector Jr. with a 14.368. So that's the fastest time we have seen in any of the sessions so far in that number 82 machine. So he turned in a spectacular lap. We'll have to see if he can transfer what he has learned over into a win. Look at that action there on the front stretch. Hopefully we don't see all too much of that in the race, but a little bit of 3 wide beating and banging. I do expect to see the beating and banging here tonight, folks. It is a short track action, always a thing around tracks of this length, especially with these high horsepower super late models. And also, they're pretty wide out there on the racetrack. It can be kind of difficult to judge your distance to another car. That's one thing that you always have to watch out for with the super late models. And oh, contact there, the number 7 there of Dylan Huffines trying to come out onto the racetrack. And we were riding on board there with, I believe that was Bart Hector Jr. in the number 28 machine, just kind of coming together. So already starting to see some action. I'm sure we'll see plenty of that action here in just about 27 seconds when the checkered flag is thrown on this warm-up session. But some interesting things that we have seen on this racetrack is, ooh, the 55 went around there coming out of turn number 4. I think there's going to be a couple things we're going to have to keep our eyes on here tonight, Nicholas, and this is going to be an interesting race. I think one of the key storylines coming into tonight is kind of just managing the caution flags. We've seen a lot of caution flags on some of the races that we've had this year. We've also seen some races that have been almost essentially caution-free with some very long green flag runs. So hopefully we can get some of that green flag action here tonight.
Yeah, I'd love to see a lot of action, such as, like, I mean, as you said, being and banging, but at least keep it green. Nowhere needed to be a caution. At least get some of that crazy action, but at least just keep it green. I'd love to see that out there on the track tonight. But these guys are now gridding up. And in just a bit, I'm sure we're just gonna see our starting lineup.
Yeah, let's go through tonight's starting lineup for this 120 lap feature race, the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series. Super late models from South Boston. Pole sitter is Kenneth Garber in the number 96 machine. Bart Hector Jr. in the number 82 to his outside. Starting in the 3rd position will be the number 7 machine of Dylan Huffines, and Travis Barnes to his outside in the number 8 machine. On row number 3, we have the number 55 of Hayden Plyman in that race car, and to his outside, TJ Hartmann trying to go for 4 wins in a row in that race car. Wade Cohen's behind him in the 7th position, and Eric Johnson Jr. will be rolling off to the outside of row number 4. Derek Presley on the inside of row number 5 in 9th, and Matthew Disnowski rounds out your top 10, Nicholas.
Starting in 11th is going to be the number 23 of Jeff Peterson, and to his outside is the number 43 of Andy Johnson. Behind them, the 00 of Sean Jones starting in 13th, and outside of him will be the 13 of Scott Dagenstein. Behind them, starting in 15th, the number 42 of Chris Belanca, and to his outside is the 2 of Isaiah Gill. And rounding out the 17 car field will be the 99 of Chris Torres.
And I gotta say, Isaiah Gill in that race car, was very, very fast in that warm-up session. Had to go to the heat race, but I'd expect him to work his way up through the field because he was very, very quick in that warm-up session, just did not get the qualifying lap he was hoping to in that machine. We'll see the Ford Mustang pace car dive down onto pit road right here, and the green flag is already in the air, thrown very early by the flagman, and we're underway here, 110 laps around Sobo in the super late models for the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. And just like that, folks, they're already in turn number 3 and 4, and look at that. 1 lap down, 109 laps to go, and Kenneth Garber in the number 96 machine has gotten himself out front, and a caution flag already waves on lap number 2, and it's TJ Hartmann in the number 19 machine, trying to go 4 in a row, and already in trouble here early, Nicholas.
Yeah, I was actually taking a look at that, and I believe TJ Hartmann actually made a little bit of contact with the number 55 car, and we're obviously seeing a replay of this now. That's TJ Hartmann right on your screen. The snap-on number 19 car who, as you said, Peter, is trying to take it 4 in a row, so we should actually be able to see what's happening on the track here. Right there.
Yeah, that one's a kind of hard one to call because they were so close, kind of rubbing up against one another into the corner, and they kind of just locked together, it looked like, and when they locked together, right up into the wall they went, and TJ Hartmann in the number 19 got a big chunk of damage. Hayden Plybon in the number 55, great qualifying run up inside the top 5. Now he's going to be well back, and then kind of the field couldn't quite see what happens. And I'll tell you what, folks, with the speed that these super late models are whipping around this 0.4 of a mile racetrack, it is so fast. When something happens, it is very difficult to make a move to avoid the chaos in front of you. And you saw kind of cars scattering every which way, and these cars are not easy to see through. In fact, let's see if we can possibly go on. Here we go, on board. Look, you can't see much in front of you. So here we go. This is the number 55. He gets up. You saw where they kind of got locked together. He was trying to do all he could to kind of get unlocked, and finally got it turned back around. You see all that right front damage. He got up on his side there a little bit. Hopefully he can get some of that damage fixed. They do have one fast repair here tonight. Here's from the aerial cam. You can see them kind of get locked together and boom, right to the outside wall. And the number 19 came back down the racetrack. Number 13 was there, the 23, the 42 getting a piece of it. And just like that, we are under our first caution. Pace car lights are still on. One good thing about this being such a short racetrack, though, folks, is the pace laps tend to be pretty brief, and the yellow flag periods tend to be pretty brief. As you can see, the pace car lights have turned off on that iRacing.com pace car, and we're set to go back to green here very shortly, Nicholas. And some of our key contenders, including TJ Hartmann in the number 19, looks like he might have used that fast repair on that race car. He's going to have to work his way up through the field now.
Yeah, well, hopefully TJ Hartmann, all he's hoping for now is that he doesn't get involved in anything else since he doesn't have his fast repair. But anyways, we are back to green flag racing here at South Boston Speedway. Some of these guys still side by side, some of them trying to get back to single file action. And just like that, these guys are now mostly single file. And caution actually comes out for the second time tonight here at South Boston, Peter.
And it is the same 2 cars that were involved in our first accident. Just had it coming together, coming out of the corner. The number 55, watch this, on the outside, that's Plymon in that number 55. A little bit of contact there with Isaiah Gill. The 55 gets turned around, and nowhere for TJ Hartmann to go in that number 19 machine. A lot of right front damage, and I do believe the 55 has possibly taken it to the pit road. Let's see, on board with TJ Hartmann here, and there's that initial contact. The 55 coming down the racetrack. You can see Hartmann did everything he could to avoid that, just chose the wrong way. Should have gone up the racetrack. Hindsight is 20/20, I'll tell you that much. I gotta say, as a race car driver, sometimes you just have to commit, and sometimes you commit to the right lane, sometimes you don't. And unfortunately for the number 19 of TJ Hartmann, he's used his one fast repair. Nicholas, all of a sudden, it's not looking good for 4 in a row.
No, not at all. And I was actually saying right before the initial contact was made that TJ Hartmann doesn't want to be involved in any other contact, as he already used his fast repair from what we've seen when he was involved in the first caution tonight. So kind of tough luck on his side. So we're going to see what he can do to recover. And yeah, it just feels bad to be him right now. That's pretty terrible to start your race, just getting involved in 2 cautions with the same guy, obviously. Number 55 of Hayden Plybon, he was involved with.
Yeah, Isaiah Gill in the 2 machine. Looks like he might have just pushed up the racetrack just a smidgen there, and that is what led to that contact. Brakes are so important around this 0.4 of a mile racetrack. I mean, you're almost on the brake as much as you are on the throttle around this racetrack with just how small of a racetrack it is. And, you know, you miss your brake marker by just a little bit, it can definitely hurt your lap time and hurt a car to your outside, as we saw right there. Pace car lights have turned off once again, though. Looks like we're going to have a single file restart for this one, and Kenneth Garber in the number 96 machine gets us back to green flag action. Bart Hector Jr. sitting in second, Travis Barnes third, Dylan Huffines in the number 7 machine up in fourth, and Eric Johnson Jr. in the number 14 machine, he's now moved up into the top 5, but pretty much single file through the pack. It's a very difficult racetrack to pass here, Nicholas, because you have to manage your run up off the corner. You kind of have to set up the car in front of you, be very patient, and look for that opportunity for the car in front of you to slip up just a little bit to make your move. Very narrow racetrack, this one.
Yeah, for sure. As you mentioned right there, Peter, I mean, like, in the turns, I mean, you kind of course, want to stay down low so the guy behind you can't just get you right in the corner. And I actually saw the number 18 of Wade Cohen's, as we mentioned, coming out of turns 3 and 4, got a little loose. So that was a little interesting there. And we got to keep an eye on that coming out of turns 3 and 4, because those guys can get a little loose out there. And the number 18 of Wade Cohen's actually smacks the wall. I believe you saw it right there on your screen, Peter.
Yeah, we have the 02 of Matthew Disnowski. He is in the 8th position right now, running right behind Andy Johnson. Wade Cohen's right in front of them in the number 18 Budweiser Black Crown machine. And there's a car stopped on the racetrack, and it's TJ Hartmann again, folks. It has not been his night in that Snap-on number 19 machine. And look, he might not be too happy in that race car with the way this race has started. Let's see what, oh my goodness, he just kind of stopped there on the racetrack. Might have been having, let's see, might have got a nudge, and got almost submarined there by one car, one of the black race cars out there on the racetrack. Let's see if we can get a better view of exactly what happened. Here we go, the number 13 machine, just gave him a little bit of a nudge. That's Scott Degenstein in that number 19 machine. Might have been a little bit of neck code, and then that all black machine came out and unfortunately cleaned him out. I do believe that black car was Sean Jones, the 00 machine. Here we go. Look at that. There's a little nudge in the right rear corner on that number 19 machine. He tried to save it, but there was the 00 with absolutely nowhere to go but into the back of the number 19. Sean Jones has a lot of front end damage on that race car. He's currently being scored in the 15th position. Last car on the lead lap. You see him go high, and boom, just like that, nothing he could have done. He thought he was going the right way to avoid it, and the number 19 just shot up the racetrack. And Nicholas, a couple of very damaged race cars.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel bad for TJ Hartmann, who was hoping, he came into this race hoping that he would make it 4 in a row, but I guess he only lived up to 3rd time's the charm, winning it last week at Oxford Plains in the street stocks. So unfortunately, I don't think that he will be able to recover, but we'll see what he can do, as he has taken it to the pits. He's being serviced now. Probably a lot of damage on that race car, so that might take a while. Gonna go, guessing, a couple laps down, as he's already 1 lap down, Peter. Yeah,
that number 19 machine still on pit road right now. Got to give us a spot right now for South Sound Speedway. Coming up Saturday, June 20th, participant races only. So no folks in the crowd, but this Saturday, they're actually going to have some racing back on the racetrack, which is great to see. Some participant races only. But the pace car lights have turned off And we're about to go back to green flag action here at South Boston with the super late models. The one good thing about these race cars that have been banged up is no real money is lost in these race cars. I'm sure some real money will be lost at South Sound Speedway when they get back to it. You know how those racers are out there on the racetrack. But Bart Hector Jr., number 28 machine, folks, he actually took the race lead. And he is off into turn number 1 ahead of Kenneth Garber. So didn't exactly see how that happened. Garber was running a little bit higher line than the number 28 of Hector, and he must have just gotten underneath him before that caution flag came out. But that number 28 machine, like a rocket, has rocket racing setups on the hood, and he is currently your race leader in that number 28 rocket. I'm sure that will make Aunt Kathy in the chat happy here. Look at this battle. Travis Barnes here trying to get underneath Kenneth Garber for that second spot. You see that line that Kenneth Garber's running a little bit higher up on the racetrack, Nicholas, and sometimes you just wash up a little bit too much and you open up the door for the car behind you.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier, Peter, how especially in the turns, when you just drift up just a little bit to the higher line, the guy behind you has a huge chance of getting under you, and we're almost saw it there with Travis Barnes and Kenneth Garber. Kenneth Garber actually slid up a little bit, and I'm seeing it again, but Travis Barnes just can't get to him. And caution actually comes out once again here tonight, Peter.
Yeah, Jeff Peterson in the number 23 machine. He's having to back down the racetrack. He was turned up against the outside retaining wall, and there you see him having some issues. Looks like he was able to stay off of that outside wall, so that's good news. Does have a little bit of right rear damage. Let's see if he got any help here or whether or not he just broke loose coming out of the corner. Looks like he just broke loose. A little bit too much beans. And that number 23 machine is unfortunately going to be the last car on the lead lap. Looks like iRacing will let him stay on the lead lap, so that's good news for that number 28 machine. But definitely losing a little bit of track position on that race car as he rejoins the back of the field, puts us back under caution. We have a lot of takers on pit road right now. Bart Hector Jr., Dylan Huffine, Travis Barnes, Hayden Plybun, Eric Johnson Jr., and I'm a little bit, whoa, the 55 there, Plybun going around, coming off pit road, a little bit too much beans perhaps. We'll have to see if we can get another replay of that. That happened on the screen. But a lot of the field just now working their way out of pit road. There's the number 55 in his pit box. See if we can line this up a little bit. Looks like we can't get a replay on that, unfortunately. Couldn't quite get an angle on exactly what happened to that race car. Plymouth is many laps down in that race car. He's currently being scored 22 laps down. Last car in the race in the 15th position. So tough break for him. Looks like he's going to spend a little bit more time on pit road getting that number 55 machine sorted out. He might have returned to the racetrack, Nicholas, thinking, oh, this car is back to full strength, and gave it a little bit of gas, and it just spun right around and said, okay, maybe all the damage isn't fixed. So we'll have to see whether or not he's able to return to the racetrack or not. But we have reached the pretty much the 1/3 race distance here in a lap or two. And Nicholas, a lot of yellows here in the early going.
Yeah, and that's not what I like to see, and I'm sure nobody likes to see that. I mean, some of the yellows, sure, but like when it's yellow every couple of minutes, not all that nice. But the pace car lights are off, and we're gonna go green in just a little bit, Peter.
Yep, looks like we'll go back to green here in just under half a lap. Got to give a shout out to Gumwiz in the chat. Mr. Berlin is back in the house. Hope you're doing well, and hope you're enjoying tonight's broadcast of the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer, as the green flag has been dropped once again. And Kenneth Garber, he stayed out. We had a lot of cars come down pit road. First car to come down pit road was Travis Barnes. He's back in the 8th position. We'll have to see whether those fresh tires will allow him to work his way back up through the field. We'll just have to see here, Nicholas, how important the fresh tires are around this racetrack.
Yeah, and I think that would be pretty important, honestly. And I'm seeing a couple guys hit the wall, actually, which includes the number 4 of Derek Presley. Saw him just scrape it just a little bit with his right rear, coming out of turns 1 and 2, I believe. Or actually turns 3 and 4 earlier. And
Hey, Nicholas,
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt, but we almost had a caution. Scott Degenstein in the number 13 machine had a coming together with the number 43 of Andy Johnson. Those two had a coming together about 2 laps ago or so. Here we can go back and see this on the replay. Look at the number 82 Bart Hector Jr. down on the inside, and nope, that's not quite the contact. I think the contact here will be in turn number 1 and 2. Yep, there's that nudge. Gave him a good shot. And Degenstein in the wall in that number 13 machine. We stay green, though, because they were able to get things wound back up pretty quickly. And Travis Barnes' first car on fresher tires. He's starting to work his way back up through the field. He restarted in 8th. Now he's up to 7th, trying to get around the number 42 of Chris Belanca. Travis Barnes on the inside. You can see Barnes' nose, and there's a contact there, and they save it. Fantastic save. That's a little bit of rubbing racing, and that's what you want to see here on a short track. You don't want to see cars turned around. Oh, Barnes got really loose coming out of turn number 2. They got some slow lap traffic in front of him. Jeff Peterson in the number 23 machine. They'll have to go single file here to get around that slow lap traffic. But it was almost ended badly there for the number 8 of Travis Barnes. Still trying to work his way through the field on these fresher tires. Oh, Disnowski's around in front of these, and cars going everywhere. Huffines into the back of Travis Barnes. Barnes in the outside wall, and we are back under yellow. There's Disnowski getting turned back around in that 02 machine. Let's see what happened here. He was racing with the number 4 machine of Derek Presley, and there was just a little bit of contact to set off this caution here tonight. Here we go. There's the number 4 of Presley right behind Disnowski. That looks like the number 4 machine might have missed his brake marker there going off into turn number 3 because he just sailed it in. And unfortunately, he was caught a little bit off guard by the 02 of Disnowski. Here we go. One more. Watch this out back of that 02 machine, and bam! Just like that. Sends the 02 around for a 180. Good news is he did get hit by anyone. In fact, he got away with less damage than some of the cars who had to scatter to avoid him. And he will come down pit road here, I'm sure, to get 4 fresh tires on that 02 machine, Nicholas.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's been pretty hectic this whole race. All these past 45 or so laps. And we've also had a couple of close calls before this caution that just came out. We saw a couple guys get a little loose, and I believe that included the number 8 of Travis Barnes, who got a little loose, almost hit the inside wall, but just didn't. But of course, now does hit the outside wall. So, been a pretty crazy race so far, and I'm sure that, honestly, it's probably not going to be any different, but hopefully we can have some nice green flag laps to come.
I'll tell you someone who has worked his way back onto the lead lap, though. That's the number 19 of TJ Hartmann in that snap-on machine, of course, trying to go for 4 wins in a row. We've mentioned that a couple times here tonight. That car has a lot of front-end damage, but the good news is he's inside the top 10 once again after being involved in a couple early of the caution flags that we have here tonight. So he will actually now fall to the 11th position, I do believe, as iRacing is starting to get things sorted out. I believe he was the lucky dog under this caution flag. But the good news about this caution flag is it's just about over. Is the Ford Mustang pace car about to head back onto pit road. It'll be lap number 48 when we go back to green flag. And there it is, Kenneth Garber with that green flag back in the air, trying to jump away from the number 4 machine of Derek Presley. The number 8 of Travis Barnes, he came down pit road in that race car, so the first car on 4 fresh tires, I'd say 4 fresh tires, he has 17 laps on those tires, is Bart Hector Jr. in that number 28 machine. Look at this gaggle from, oh, look at the 42 of Belanca get loose coming out of turn number 2. Bart Hector Jr. had to check up a little bit. Here comes the number 14, Merrick Johnson Jr. to the outside of Hector Jr. Hector Jr., huge run coming out of turn number 4. He's going to get underneath Belanca, and this is something we're going to have to watch here, Nicholas, because we got a couple drivers on fresher tires like Bart Hector Jr. Belanca, the number 99 of Chris Torres, Derek Presley on older tires, and definitely not showing the pace in qualifying like Bart Hector Jr. was. And this is starting to open up a gap up at the front with this gaggle of cars right here. We have a car around the 43 machine. Andy Johnson has gone around here on the backstretch, Nicholas.
Yeah, and I believe Isaiah Gill did hit his side just a little bit as he got stopped on the track, but I don't think really any too much damage up in front for the number 2 of Isaiah Gill. But yeah, I just saw that happening. number 43 of Andy Johnson did go around and maybe maybe got loose or maybe some contact, yep, from the 8 of Travis Barnes, I believe, and just goes around, and we're gonna see him, or, well, there's the end of the replay. But here's another replay here. We're gonna see it from another angle. And here we should have contact, yep, right there.
I know people who would say that is called getting the bamper, giving them a bamp there coming out of turn number 2. Unfortunately, Andy Johnson, a lot of front end damage on that super late model. Gotta love the Dodge Challenger template on that race car. He'll come into his pit box. Looks like he is going to use a faster pair in that number 43 STP machine. Looks like he's also going to stay on the lead lap. That will allow TJ Hartman to get up into the 9th position in that number 19 machine now that the iRacing scoring has all sorted itself out. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on the drivers who have recently come down pit road, like Andy Johnson in that race car. Now Andy Johnson will have fresher tires on that race car. Whether or not he will be able to work his way through the field, as we are just about to reach the halfway mark in tonight's 110 lap feature race in the South Sound Speedway eRacing series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. And that number 96 machine, Kenneth Garber, your pole sitter here tonight, has led the most laps. The only other driver to lead laps tonight is the number 82 machine. There you can see some of the race summary. 6 cautions in the first 54 laps, 29 laps under caution. There's the average green pace, 14.876. Hopefully we go back to green flag racing here in just a little bit. And Kenneth Garber in that number 96 also has the fastest lap. And like I was saying, the only other driver to lead a lap here tonight, the number 82 of Bart Hector Jr., he's currently in the 5th position with about 30 lap fresher tires than the current race leader. Whether or not that will pay dividends for Bart Hector Jr. here shortly, we'll have to wait and find out as the pace car lights have turned off. And Nicholas, we're about to go back to green.
Yeah, for sure, and I just want to mention very quickly that Kenneth Garber has been fast all day as the green flag actually waves back in the air. We are back green flag racing here tonight at South Boston, but Kenneth Garber has been fast all day as he is now pulling away already from the rest of the field. And the number 4 of Derek Presley does make a little bit of contact with the outside wall, but not much at all. Chris Belanca almost makes contact with the number 99 of Chris Torres, who surprisingly made his way up to 3rd place from dead last, I do believe, from starting last tonight here at South Boston Speedway.
Yeah, that number 99 of Chris Torres, he didn't get a single practice or qualifying lap in, and he's running up here in the top 3. Look at Bart Hector Jr. He just made a pass around the outside on the number 42 of Chris Belanca to take away the 4th position, and now he closes in on the back of that number 99 machine, I think. Bart Hector Jr. might have learned something there with that outside move on the number 42 machine. Now it's Travis Barnes all over the back bumper of Belanca, and the 14 machine of Eric Johnson Jr. down on the inside. And here comes Dylan Huffines in the number 7 to his outside. We're 2 by 2 from the 3rd position on back as Bart Hector Jr. is going around the number 99 of Chris Torres the outside. A little bit of contact there a little bit further back. And look at Hartman having to check up for the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. And all of a sudden the number 42 is completely scuffled and we have a wreck behind. I believe that's the number 19 machine of TJ Hartman, who's gone around again just when his night was starting to look up. He has completely parked sideways. And you can see him there trying to get back up onto the racetrack and right into the side of the number 14 machine of Eric Johnson Jr. and the caution flag is out. The number 42 of Belanca has gone around as well. I'm sure the number 14 will be livid in that race car due to that contact. And you can see that, the number 42 getting a piece of it as well as the number 43. But TJ Hartman stuck down there on the inside. It was kind of one of those things. I think he might have just been trying to trigger the caution flag by rolling back up at the racetrack. But look at that. Nowhere for the 14 to go. Left front crinkled, right side crinkled. And the 42 of Belanca also going around there. Now, we'll have to go back and see what initiated that spin on the number 19 machine, because it was like a huge gaggle of race cars there battling for the 3rd position on back. Here we go. Here's the battle that was back here. The number 19 right behind the number 14. The 14 had to check up and the number 19 came down across the nose of the number 43, who kind of poked his nose in there, and that is how TJ Hartman got stopped sideways on the inside of the racetrack. And TJ Hartman, his drive for 4 in a row has come to an end. He has parked it. His night done here at South Boston, Virginia.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, he did take it to the garage. He is done for the night. His hope is now gone for a 4 in a row. I mean, he made it 3 in a row. That is good enough, but I mean, you can always go for more. And I would like to mention that the number 42 of Chris Belanca, who was also involved in that caution, did use a fast repair, as I saw. And how I noticed that was he did go into his pit box and then automatically damage already gone. So that's how you would know that someone used their fast repair. And should note that these guys only have 1 fast repair throughout these 110 laps in total.
I'll tell you what, though. We have had a change up at the front. Kenneth Garber in the number 96 machine, while we were back watching all those replays, he came down pit road, folks, got 4 fresh tires on that race car. He's going to be starting well back in the pack. We've seen how difficult it has been to make up moves. We've seen some drivers get caught up in other drivers' troubles. Will Kenneth Garber work his way back through the field here with just 44 laps to go? He does have 34 lap fresher tires than the number 82 of Bart Hector Jr. Derek Presley, your current race leader, he started this race on that same set of tires he's on right now. He has yet to come down pit road. In fact, he's the only driver in the field in that Hellman's number 4 who has not come to pit road in this race so far. Green flag is about to come out, Nicholas, because the pace car lights are off.
Yep, you just said it there. As the Ford Mustang iRacing official pace car goes down pit road, we are back. Green flag racing here at South Boston, and as you mentioned, the number 4 of Derek Presley has not hit yet in that Hellman's number 4 super late model, but is keeping the number 28 of Bart Hector Jr. behind him for now, but looking to make a pass on the outside, side by side now, as Bart Hector Jr. looks to clear the number 4 of Derek Presley, but does not, and he will now, as Derek Presley now starts to fall back just a little bit as Travis Barnes passes him.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of racetracks where you say, man, you kind of get freight trained when you're on the top. Well, here at this racetrack, as a caution comes out, we'll come back to that thought here in a little bit. We got the number 18, Wade Cohen's turned around in turn number 3 and 4. Also, so the 02 of Matthew Disnowski might have got a piece of that as well. Here we go. Oh, it happened up in front. Disnowski got slowed up, and then I think the number 18 of Cohen's and the 00 might have made contact back behind. We'll have to see what happened on both of these incidents. There's the 02 of Disnowski and the 96 of Kenneth Garber. Remember, he's on those fresh tires trying to work his way through the field. Might have just given a nudge to Disnowski. Good news is, doesn't look like any of those cars have any significant damage, and they'll be able to get back going. Let's see what happened here between Wade Cohen's and the 00 right behind him, and you can see Cohen's just tried to check up for that spin, and Sean Jones just could not see through the back window of that number 18 machine, just made that contact to send him into a half spin. Luckily, the field was frozen, and I do believe the number 18 of Cohen's will get that position back on the racetrack. He is currently being scored in the 13th position in that race car. Unfortunately, he is being scored 4 laps down as of right now. But Nicholas, we're back under caution here, and this race is starting to turn into a shootout, as we are now down to only 37 laps to go. We'll probably only have about 34, 35 when we go back green.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier in this race, Peter, these laps are very short laps. We've seen some of these guys turning like 14-second laps around this track, and that'll just make the time go by very fast, make the laps go by very fast, as we have just entered lap 75 as the pace car lights are still on, hoping to see them go off in just a little bit here. We're gonna see what they do. But yeah, hopefully we don't see many more caution laps after this caution cycle, and then hopefully it can just stay, as I like to say, clean and green. As the pace car lights go off, we are 1 lap to go until we can go back green flag racing. and hopefully it'll stay that way, Peter.
Hopefully so, and you know, a lot of these drivers here have been or have raced on South Sound Speedway, and they do have super late models at South Sound Speedways. But next week we'll be racing Legends around the Legends Oval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. They also have Legends at South Sound Speedway, so it's kind of cool to see some of these cars in action that you would see on the real South Sound Speedway. And we're back to green flag racing here with 34 laps to go. Bart Hector Jr., that number 82 machine, your race leader. Travis Barton sitting in second. We're going to have all eyes on the number 96 of Kenneth Garber. He's got himself up into sixth with those fresh tires, closing in on Andy Johnson in the number 43 machine. We've seen how difficult it is to pass here tonight. Derek Presley in the number 4 machine. He's yet to pit. He's on the oldest tires in the field. Eric Johnson Jr., he says, don't worry, I've done this on Xbox in that number 14 machine coming out of turn number 4, trying to take that third position. We got some side-by-side action behind them. Dylan Huffines underneath the number 43 of Andy Johnson. That's a battle for position, battle for the 7th position. In fact, Huffines still trying to take that spot. He's all the way below that yellow line, unable to make that move down there. It's very, very flat on the apron. Now Huffines going to try the outside around Andy Johnson, seeing if he find any grip up there. Smacks the wall coming out of the corner. And this is the only battle on the racetrack right now where they're side by side. Now look at Huffines all over the back. Oh, gives a nudge to the 43. Andy Johnson trying to save it. Caution is out. And Andy Johnson, oh, I thought he had saved it. He's going to loop it around there. Luckily, it doesn't look like he's got any significant damage on that race car, but not what you want to have happen there. Andy Johnson going around in turn number 1 and 2. We're back under yellow.
Yeah, unfortunately, the yellow does come out once again as we're going to enter lap 83 in just a little bit. And I do want to mention Chris Belanca has taken it to the garage. He has parked it, and he is now heading back home. So the second retirement, I believe, of this race, first one being the number 19 of TJ Hartmann, and now the 42 of Chris Belanca. So under caution once again from South Boston Speedway tonight. And yeah, so hopefully, as I said, we don't see much more of that kind of action. I'd still like to see a little bit of exciting action, but at least keep it clean, keep it green. Because, I mean, this race is coming to an end in just a little bit, and we're going to see what these guys can do here within the next 20, maybe 20, 23, 22, 23 laps to go when we go back green.
I'll tell you what, though, one thing about this short track action is I think it is getting some tempers heated up just a little bit, as you'd expect on these short tracks. You know, with all this beating and banging that's been going on out there. I'm sure a couple of these drivers won't see eye to eye after this one. There you can see the weather, though. Not only is the intensity heating up out there, but the track temperature has also risen a couple of degrees Fahrenheit, up to 81 degrees here. Current ambient temperature, though, still at 77 degrees. That's what we saw at the beginning of the race. And not a single cloud in the sky. How about that, folks, here at South Boston? Pace car lights are still on. And I gotta say, Nicholas, Bart Hector Jr. been on the pace all day long. But the number 96, Kenneth Garber, he's back in the top 5.
Yep, as you mentioned, number 96, Kenneth Garber, now once again entering the top 5. Just rounding out the top 5 actually in 5th. Started first, and speaking of the number 1, we are 1 to green here tonight at South Boston. As hopefully this will be the last time we see the pace car on the track, of course, until it comes out after the checkered flag. But the Ford Mustang official iRacing pace car will come down pit road right now. In the front, Bart Hector Jr. gonna lead the field to green, trying to get an early jump, but Travis Barnes in the 8 trying to pass him.
Yeah, that number 42 machine, Chris Belanca, off the racetrack. He has gone to the garage like you'd mentioned, but up the front, the number 28, Bart Hector Jr. trying to stay away from this man right here, the number 96 of Kenneth Garber, because Garber is trying to get the 4th position from the number 14 machine. He might try and go for 2 here as he shows his nose to the inside of Derek Presley, unable to make that pass on Presley, but he did clear Eric Johnson Jr. So Johnson Jr. now back to the 5th position, and Kenneth Garber will take that spot. So Garber now, he's only got 2 cars in front of him. Caution is out. Matthew Desnoski around in turn number 3 in the O2 machine. We'll have to see what happened there. That was actually right in front of your leaders. See him turned around there. He got out of the racing groove. Let's see what happened here. He has Wade Cohen's behind him. He has the number 23 of Peterson to his outside, just a little bit of contact. And unfortunately, that contact just got worse with the inside wall, spun it up against the wall. He was able to get it reversed down the racetrack and got it back going before your leaders came into the picture. There they are. And I'm sure that's not what Bart Hector Jr. wanted to see out in front of his race car. He wanted to see the checkered flag before another flag flew, because this is also going to put the number 96 machine a little bit closer to him. They'd put a little bit of a gap, did Bart Hector Jr. and Travis Barnes. What happened to Travis Barnes here? Did Barnes come down pit road? He did. So Travis Barnes in the number 8 machine here with just under 20 laps to go, going to come down pit road and get 4 fresh tires on that race car. Not quite sure what the deal is there. Maybe he was thinking I couldn't win this race without fresh tires, and kind of see what some fresh tires can do for him at the end. He's going to lose a ton of track position. He's all the way back to 11th position now. But that's even worse for Bart Hector Jr. He didn't even want to see that caution to allow Kenneth Garber to catch back up to him. But now Kenneth Garber's going to be right on his back bumper.
Yeah, Bart Hector Jr. knows that Kenneth Garber has been fast all night, obviously being the fastest in practice and being the fastest in qualifying with the same exact time for both, 14.381, and now going to be starting second once we go back to green. Pace car lights are still on. Hopefully we will be seeing them go off in a lap or so. If not this time, hopefully next time. We're going to see that in just a little bit. Kenneth Garber warming up his tires a little bit behind Bart Hector Jr. Always nice to see that. Trying to get the real feel of racing here on iRacing.
So we'll see if the pace car lights turn off, and they do. So we will get back to green flag racing with just 15 laps to go. And like we said last time, Nicholas, cross fingers, knock on woods, cross your legs, do what you need to do so we can stay green here for the final 15 laps. We will have an attempt at a green-white checker if needed here in the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. But there goes the Ford Mustang pace car. See ya later. And the number 82 of Bart Hector Jr., he's going to do the same thing. He's going to say see ya later to the field. He got a good jump over Kenneth Garber. But now we're going to see how much pace those fresh tires on the number 96 machine has in comparison to Bart Hector Jr. Hector Jr.'s got to put his head down here, Nicholas, and turn as many qualifying laps as possible to see if he can put a little bit of a gap on that number 96 machine. We've seen how difficult it can be to pass here around this racetrack, so maybe that track position is what Bart Hector Jr. wants to have right now.
Oh yeah, for sure, but I mean, he sees Kenneth Garber in the 96 right behind him, or not right behind him, but close enough, Peter. And I mean, he still has the laps to get this done, and he gets a little loose coming off of turns 3 and 4. Wow, but he saves it. That does fall him back a little bit and does hit the wall, actually, just scrapes it. Couldn't see that as we're, I believe, riding on board with Bart Hector Jr. right now, and the caution actually does come out for hopefully, as we can knock on wood, the last time today.
Matthew Disanoski around on the backstretch. Looks like Sean Jones in the 00 also going around. I think there's 2 separate incidents, because you can see in that picture, you saw a brief moment of the 02 going around, and there's the 00 of Sean Jones going for a spin. We'll have to see what happened here. Looks like the number 43 right behind him. There's the nudge. And Sean Jones, he spun up off the racetrack, and there's Disnoski backing up against the outside retaining wall. So what happened to Disnoski? He had the number 18 Wade Cohen's right behind him, working his way through turn number 1 and 2. Did he get some help? Yes, he did. Maybe a little bit of net code in that one, but puts us back under yellow. once again here at South Boston, Virginia. We did have Eric Johnson Sr. join us in the chat. Cup race? What cup race? We have South Sound iRacing on 3Y TV. Yes, we do. Glad you're tuning in here tonight, Mr. Eric Johnson Sr. Of course, related to Eric Johnson Jr., who's running solidly inside the top 5 right now. Trying to get around the number 4 machine of Derek Presley, who's right in front of him. Strong run here tonight for that number 4 machine, Nicholas. I mean, Derek Presley hasn't pitted all race long in that number 4 machine, showing that track position is very, very important.
Yep, as you mentioned, I mean, he's in 3rd right now. He's being scored 3rd, and he hasn't even gone for a pit stop at all this race, and he's just gonna do what he does, do what he can do to get track position. But of course, mainly taking a look at the top 2 guys, probably the 2 fastest guys all night, Bart Hector Jr. and Kenneth Garber, both your top 2. Of course, Bart Hector Jr. Not wanting to see this caution, because he was trying to pull away. But we do have 1 lap to green as the iRacing official pace car Ford Mustang lights are off. And we're going to see what these guys can do, as we're hopefully for the last time going to go green on lap 105, Peter.
Yeah, Bart Hector Jr. gets us back to green. 6 more laps around this point. Oh, contact between the number 99 and the number 8 machine. That's a little bit further back in the pack. Travis Barnes in that number 8 machine racing with Chris Torres. He's going to get underneath him here for that 6th position. Ooh, Torres gave him a little bit of a nudge. Looks like they weren't too happy with one another. But that is a little bit further back now. Derek Presley opens the door for the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. You're not missing anything up the front as we come to only 4 laps to go. Just under 2 miles around the South Boston Speedway. Eric Johnson Jr. wants that podium position. He wants to get around Derek Presley. Presley running way up the racetrack up at the front. Bart Hector Jr. still holding on to the race lead in that number 28 machine. Kenneth Garber got wicked loose coming out of the corner last time by. Bart Hector Jr. just a little bit faster. And now Dylan Huffines has made the move as the number 14 Eric Johnson Jr. is starting to slide back here down on the inside groove. Travis Barnes in the number 8 machine. Remember him, folks. He just came down pit road to get fresh tires not too long ago. Now he's going for a top 4 position. He goes around the number 4 of Derek Presley. All of a sudden, things starting to unravel for both Presley and Eric Johnson Jr. as we're coming to the white flag. Bart Hector Jr. has a... Oh, the number... Who was that was going around? It looked like Dylan Huffines was going around in the number 7 machine, and we stay green. There is Bart Hector Jr., the number 82 machine. Excuse me, I think I've been saying 28 because it looks like it's 28 on the top of the car, but Hector Jr. going to take the checkered flag and the win here at South Boston Speedway and gets to go to victory lane. Kenneth Garber coming home second. Travis Barnes comes away with a top 3. How about that? What a finish for Travis Barnes with those late tires on the car. And oh my goodness, into the side of Kenneth Garber's number 96 machine. Bart Hector Jr. going to slow it down here on the front stretch. I think we had a couple drivers there not all too happy with one another, but Bart Hector Jr. and the number 82 going to burn it down here on the front stretch. Great win for Hector Jr. here tonight. Was fast in practice, fast in qualifying. Didn't quite have the pole, but he had the strategy when it mattered here, Nicholas. He got those fresh tires around lap number 35, and really, from then on out, he was the car to beat once he got the lead.
Yeah, and overall, that was honestly just a great race to watch. I mean, I had fun watching it, and honestly, I thought that Kenneth Garber was gonna get it from the get-go, honestly, because I mean, like, he started first, he had fastest laps in practice and qualifying both, and made his way up to the top 5 once again late in the race, and got up to second for a podium finish, along with Travis Barnes, who also got a podium finish, finishing 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'd be interesting to see if we can quickly bring up the race summary before bringing up the final race results, because it kind of tells the story of tonight. Lots of caution, but we did have a couple of lead changes. We got to see that short track Rubbins racing that we so expected here around South Boston in South Boston, Virginia. Bart Hector Jr. taking the win. Kenneth Garber there coming home in second. Travis Barnes third with that late charge to the front. Derek Presley, 4 for 4 in that number 4 machine. Did not come down pit road all race long and used that track position to his advantage. Chris Torres in the number 99 machine coming home with a top 5. What about that? Remember, he transferred in from the heat race, finished second out of the 2 cars in that heat race. In fact, the only car who beat him in that heat race was the 6th place finisher, Isaiah Gill. Eric Johnson Jr., he got shuffled back right there at the end. Same thing with the number 7 of Dylan Huffines, who almost got turned around coming to the white flag lap. He finishes 38 seconds behind your race winner in the 8th position. Then comes the first car 1 lap down, the number 43 of Andy Johnson, and finishing in 10th position, the 00 of Sean Jones, rounding out your top 10, Nicholas.
Finishing 11th, the number 2 of, or the 02 of Matthew Disnoski, and finishing behind them is the number 18 of Wade Cohens. Finishing 13th, the number 23 of Jeff Peterson, finishing just behind him, and 14th is the number 42 of Chris Belanca. Finishing in 15th, was trying to go 4 for 4, or sorry, 4 in a row, not 4 for 4, 4 in a row, but just didn't have it, having early to mid-race troubles, involved in a lot of wrecks. Finishing 15th, the number 19 of TJ Hartman. Finishing 16th, the number 13 of Scott Dagenstein, and rounding out the 17-car field is the number 55 of Hayden Plybon. And Peter, I just want to mention that we almost saw this again tonight. The number 7 of Dylan Huffines almost finished in 7th. And I mean, we've seen that a lot during the series. 7 and 7. 7 finishing in 7th. We've seen that a lot during the series, but just 1 spot away, finishing in 8th.
Yeah, I know Dylan Huffines probably thought tonight might have been his night. Was very, very fast in practice and qualifying. Just definitely had a little bit of luck go against them right towards the end. But luck went this man's way right there. Bart Hector Jr. had a little bit of contact there after the race, but I believe that was more of a congratulatory bump there from Kenneth Garber. Those two raced each other all race long. Pretty tightly and pretty neatly between those two. But as you see, Bart Hector Jr. did a nice burnout there on the front stretch, gets to go to victory lane here in the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. Next week, like I mentioned a little bit ago, a race I've been looking forward to all season long. We're going to the Legends Oval with the Legends cars. It's going to be a 150 lap race around a very, very tight, flat track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. If you've ever seen the Charlotte Motor Speedway, you're probably used to the 1.5 mile racetrack that they have where the cup cars go. But on the inside of the infield, right in front of the main grandstands, they have the Legends Oval, which is a flat track. It's made for Legends. It's home of the most famous Legends race in the world. They have the Legends event there that everyone circles pretty much around the world. If you race Legends cars, you know about it. And they're going to run 150 laps around that Legends Oval. I'm very much looking forward to it. There's going to be a lot of action there. There's going to be a lot of drivers who have to race it like a road course. So we've already seen the Roval in effect, and we did see TJ Hartman go to victory lane with that. So expect TJ Hartman to be very, very strong next week with that Roval, the Legends Oval. But it's going to be at the same place right here on 3Y TV, same time next week, 1 week from now. And I'm very much looking forward to it, Nicholas. And I think, it's going to be an interesting race. Like I said, very different racetrack than what we saw here tonight. Very, very flat and also very, very short. But for myself, Peter Short, Nicholas Rees, and Carlos Acosta, who's been manning these cameras, want to give each and every one of you a good night. We hope to see you next week. Like I said, and until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and we'll see you then. See ya!